One of the most important factors in starting your own business is to establish why you're doing it in the first place. Now, you've probably heard this said by lots of creators before. You've probably seen it in help guides and setup guides, in blogs if you've searched the internet, but it really is important, and today I'm going to share my experience about the why in my story that I wanted to establish a business online and be able to work for myself. And I think it's important for two reasons. One, because if you're doing anything, you need to know why you're doing it. And secondly, because working for yourself is really hard. Setting up a business, whatever that business is, whether it's online, whether it's bricks and mortar, whether you're providing a product or a service to clients or customers, you do get really hard days. And I refer back to my why a lot of the time when the going gets a little bit tough, and on those days where I think, can I really do this? So personally for myself, 3 years ago I was unfairly dismissed by my former employer. I'd worked for them for over 10 years. I'd worked in various different departments. I'd done a management role, all of which were full-time, and then I had my children, returned on a part-time basis, and through the COVID pandemic they just rang me up one day and said, we're cutting 16 hours, we're making redundancies. And fast forward a few weeks and I basically got a call to say, you're going. It was one of the hardest things that we've dealt with as a family, because I knew that they were in the wrong. I knew what had happened to me was wrong, and I was absolutely focused on getting justice for how I'd been treated. So I took them to an employment tribunal. It took up nearly 2 years of my life. I had no legal representation because I couldn't afford it. We were in the midst of the COVID pandemic still. My partner was self-employed. We electively home educate our children. It put that decision in jeopardy because the home education worked with my income and my partner's income and the hours that we could work for childcare. And literally every decision, every plan we'd made for our future was just put into question. On top of that, we were trying to deal with an employment tribunal. I had absolutely no clue on employment law or anything to do with tribunals in general. So I was trying to learn all that. I was really anxious. I ended up ill, and it was just absolutely horrendous. And at that point, I vowed that I would never ever let somebody else have that amount of control over my family. And because I knew how hard I'd worked for them, because I knew how I'd contributed to building up their business, and then purely for the fact that I couldn't work more than 16 hours, I was just tossed to one side. They carried on regardless, and my family were just left with absolutely nothing. So I decided that if I was going to work my butt off, if I was going to work a lot of hours, if I was going to miss out on things like Christmas Eves and New Year's Eve and Easter weekend, which I had been rotated to work when I was employed, and I missed out on that time with my children and my partner and my family. I thought, if I'm going to do that, the only person who's going to get the reward for it is me and my family, and not someone else and their family. And that for me was my why. Why do you want to work for yourself? Well, I want to work for myself because I don't want to be financially dependent on someone else who could pull the plug at any given moment and put my life in absolute chaos. So that for me was my why. And on those days where it's really hard, and on those days where I don't think that I can do this, because one of the main barriers for me is that I'm really not a technical person. So I feel that when it comes to the sales or the marketing or the customer service or the products and things like that, that's where my background lies, because that's what I've done all my work in life. But actually projecting that onto online and social media and doing videos like this is really out of my comfort zone, because I've always been either face to face, over the phone, or via email and things like that. That's where my comfort zone kind of lies. So it is really hard putting yourself out there, and it is really hard pushing your comfort zones and things. But on the days that I find it really difficult, I always refer back to that, why am I doing it? And regardless of how difficult any of my days are, working out something technical on the computer, or trying to do something on social media, or trying to fathom out how to save something as a certain file because I don't know how to do it, and I get really annoyed and frustrated with it, but then I step back and I think, what's worse? Having to sit in your own time, at your own pace, and learn a new skill which is going to help you inevitably in the future with your own business, or is going back and working for somebody who absolutely negated on their duty of care towards you, didn't think twice about treating you badly, took all of your hours, all of your time, all of your skills, and used it to their advantage, and then just tossed you out the door as soon as they felt like it. And straight away, it grounds me, it centres me, it brings me back down, and I think, do you know what? There's no technical problem, there's no issue working for myself that could arise that would actually be worse than having to go back and work for somebody like that. So when people talk about establishing the why, a lot of people skip that part. And in my first product, in my passive income playbook, which I've just launched, it does say at the beginning that, there are really important steps that a lot of people just skip past. But as I said in the beginning, it's not just a process, it's not just a step, it's not just because that's what everybody does. It's because in the long term, making those steps at the beginning, making those decisions, writing those things down, those mantras, if you like, can be something that's really helpful to look back on the days where you are really struggling. So I'd be really interested to hear your whys on why you have decided to embark on this journey. I am currently just at the stage, I now have my system set up, so I've actually opted to set up a website. I've got my social media pages set up. I also have an Etsy shop, and I've just launched my first product, which I'm really pleased with, and I'm currently working on my second one, which I hope to have ready for January. And my ethos really is to try and offer products to people to get them up and to get them started, but really to focus it to the people who need it the most. So whereas a lot of people charge such a lot of money to people to try and get their hands on these products and to learn these new skills and do e-courses and things like that, I hope to be able to reduce that dramatically, so that the people who are in a position like I was, who have maybe no job through no fault of their own, they do have reduced and limited income, they don't have hundreds and hundreds of pounds to spend on roadmaps and training courses. So if that sounds like something that you could be interested in, then by all means hit the follow button. I'm going to be taking you right through my journey from the start, letting you into all the insights and the things I've learned, talking about the good, the bad, the really ugly. And as always, if you've got any comments, thoughts, feedback, or there's anything you think I can help with, then just drop a comment down below.